Hello and hey, today we're going to mess around with Payday 3. We're about a day from the early play launch of the game for those of you who bought silver or gold editions, and from my time hopping into the open beta, I played with a lot of new players that made a lot of the same mistakes. Don't let me sound above it, I did some of these too. It's going to be a cycle that continues when the game comes out, but we're going to help so that you don't have to waste your time doing them as well, and give you additional tips and overviews along the way. Starting in stealth, a basic overview. Every area in a heist will carry a different level of reaction. There are public areas, private areas, and secure areas. Public areas are safe areas like bank lobbies, parking lots, anywhere a non-employee wouldn't draw attention, where as long as you aren't committing quote-unquote illegal actions like lockpicking a door, etc., you can stand anywhere you like for however long you like. It's very straightforward. Private areas are ones where cameras and guards will detect you, but the response won't break stealth if you are unmasked. You'll be escorted out of the area back to the public space and given a warning, which can be useful if you need to pick something from the guard's pocket or wish to move them out of the spot they're in for your team, meaning it has practical uses as well as not ruining the mission if you are caught in earnest. Just like in public areas, if you are caught committing illegal activities in these private areas, like the ones with exclamation points, which will further say observed if you can be seen but aren't being detected, you will be cuffed and trigger a search of the area. So be very careful and deliberate with these actions, as other than a perk, the only way out of cuffs is a masked teammate. Bringing us to secure areas, which are the most punishing, as you might expect. You are not allowed to be in them at all, and the game will sound the alarm, triggering the beginning of loud, which means stealth is over. So, if you get caught while unmasked, not just partially detected, and the icon turns to a red shape of a person or red handcuffs, don't run, or you will trigger loud. Just stay in the small yellow zone that appears. If it's the cuffs, try to angle yourself a bit towards cover so your allies have a chance to bail you out. That is, if you don't have the perk that lets you lockpick yourself out. And if it's the symbol of a person, just get escorted out. No harm, no foul. Also not sure where to stick this tidbit, it's stealth adjacent, but if you take a hostage that you had previously tied the hands of as a human shield, they will no longer have tied hands when you shove them away. I've seen a couple of stealth heists in public lobbies be blown this way, so just a heads up, if you accidentally grab one or even if you intentionally do so, they will not be tied when you put them back down. If it does transition to loud, it will enter a negotiations phase prior to an assault. You can delay the first wave of the assault by a lot. Trading an increasing number of hostages, you can add 15 seconds to the negotiations timer. If someone has spec'd into the hostage skills, they are potentially tripling the value of certain hostages towards the required number. So you can get an insane amount of time at this clock, but the tip comes from what I've seen a lot of lower level players do. If you engage the police, that instantly triggers the assault. Either engaging in a firefight or running out by them and they fire upon you, it will cut that negotiation time altogether, triggering the start of the assault. If no one has the skills or really cares if it instantly goes loud, feel free. But if someone does have the skills, know that you're shutting off a part of their build, as well as technically making the heist a little harder for your entire squad. Just something to be aware of that isn't immediately obvious from just the UI. And speaking of skills, if you're the type of person to theorycraft builds, pd3.gg is a resource you should know about. And even if you just want to wait for someone else to tell you about a build that sounds interesting, you will want to start leveling those trees. To do that, you need to have at least the basic version of the first skill from that row allocated. This will let you earn XP for that row of skills, you don't have to do anything else. And I should mention, even before you allocate, there will be a little bit of an awkward period of researching the lines themselves. Either you can choose a skill line yourself, or the game will automatically select the highest unsearched row. I say awkward because this period doesn't last very long, but you can't use the skill or the tree until it's researched, so you sort of have to get XP in it before you get XP in it. Anyway, it's just a dozen or so heists of unlocking the rows, and then you can choose to start leveling them. Getting back to the skills themselves, the leftmost skill needs to be allocated for the 3 to 5 skills directly to the right of it to be accessible. Even after having enough XP earned to unlock them, it's the only prerequisite though. While the far right skill, the mastery skill, which is obtained by maxing out the experience for that line, can be allocated without needing anything else. These mastery skills are strong options that cover more generally good stats like move speed, extra throwables, or the previously mentioned lockpicking yourself out of cuffs. At level 100, you will have the full 21 skill points to distribute, but they do sound like they are going to be a bit front-loaded, as in the beta at level 22, we already had 7 of those points. Each and every point is really impactful and can make a huge difference in how you play. Gotta be really fun to tinker around and find your favorite builds. A lot of these builds will focus on the character buffs Edge, Grit, and Rush, which unless specified as conditional on a particular skill perk, will give you 20 seconds of 10% more damage, 10% less damage taken, or 10% more movement speed respectively. Some skills generate the buffs, others refresh them, and still others consume them to give an alternate buff or extra effects. It's really something to look forward to, so make sure you're taking advantage of and playing in a way that generates your buffs from the skills that you've chosen. Taking a look at the inventory, there's a lot of directions we could go. I'd like to lead with all the way at the bottom of the page, at least that's where it was in the beta. You could buy medic bags, ammo bags, armor bags, or a zipline bag on the cheap. In the pre-planning part of the heist, you can use one of these and it will appear in a designated spot in the level. I would hope that either it becomes an option to purchase on that pre-heist screen, or at least be able to buy in bulk from the inventory store screen, as buying one by one is pretty tedious. Either way, I wanted you to be aware of their existence, especially in the early days of the game, where there will absolutely be an adjustment period if you're coming from Payday 2. From that same screen, we can purchase new weapons. The ability to buy them will be locked until you reach the required level, and once you own it, you will have to level the weapon to be able to modify it, which on the surface may seem a bit odd, but it certainly beats hoping for a specific mod drop from the cards at the end of the heist like early Payday 2. And you are leveling up the weapon, but not just that specific weapon. Meaning if you max out your favorite rifle but also want to use it for stealth, you won't have to re-level another one or constantly change mods. You can just own two of the same weapon with different mod setups and shared level progress. There will also be pre-configured weapons that will show up, decided by Overkill. Some of these will be purchasable only through a secondary currency called C-Stacks, short for CrimeNet Stack. This is not a premium currency, but instead a faux cryptocurrency to sink your heist money into. It has an exchange rate that rapidly gets less favorable, however the exchange rate will reset weekly. Seems like, at least for now, a pretty benign way to encourage you to keep coming back to play. Cosmetics are an important part of the game for a lot of players too, so between masks and weapons, you will be able to customize them at a modular level through painting different patterns or parts. Again, at least in the beta, these had extremely low costs, allowing you to play around until you found what you like best. Things like suits or gloves do not appear to be modifiable, and some will also be purchasable only through C-Stacks. Finding your favorite look could end up a lot more costly through these items, again, talking in-game currency. But to end it out, I want to speak about enemies. Popping heads has always been a great way to keep up on ammo economy, but there will be an adjustment period here. These guys have been taking dance classes. Once the bullets start flying, they will move all over the place. It's worth it to take your time to track their noggin, especially because you'll want to put yourself in a position to be engaging a single SWAT at a time. Being out in the open is just a death sentence, which has been the case in previous titles, but with regen mechanics being in short supply here, the damage you incur tends to stick. The best defense is making sure you're avoiding it at all. So to recap on that, aim for heads, practice a bit of patience for them to settle into a position you can hit, and then let it fly. It usually ends up being quicker overall as well. And that will about do it for this video. If you have any tips for new heisters or want to share what you saw everybody doing and want to prevent that, let me know in the appropriate section below. I'll be doing a bit of Payday 3 content for a while, so I hope to catch you guys in the next one. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be safe, guys.